Welcome back to Hoffman Tactical. So in today's video, we are going to be taking this Orca and breaking it. So before you start worrying too much, we're not breaking a perfectly fine, acceptable Orca just to do it. We actually have a new Orca already printed in a Polymaker carbon fiber nylon PA6 carbon fiber, and I gave it this quite nice looking camouflage paint job, masked off the grip texture areas so they're still black, painted the rest of it with a decent paint job. I still have more work to do, but I think it looks pretty cool. So we have our camouflage Orca right here. This guy here needs parts, and we're going to get the parts off of this gun, but rather than just disassemble it, we are going to do some testing with it first to try to understand how it breaks. And also, this Orca is not functional because this is the one that Print, Shoot, Repeat and I melted. This gun here, don't feel too bad for it. What we're going to do is we're going to do a push-up test. The push-up test basically consists of I'm going to put the gun on the ground, supported by the pistol grip. One hand goes right here on the end of the stock, other hand goes up here to balance that force up here on the handguard, and then we're going to do push-ups off of it. What that does is it kind of pulls the upper receiver up and holds the entire lower receiver down. It puts a lot of stress on the buffer tower. On a conventional AR-15 setup with this, the mil-spec upper and a printed lower, what happens is normally your buffer tower will fail at some point. Hopefully it doesn't, but at some point, if you apply enough force, your buffer tower, something back in this area on the lower receiver will fail, and the buffer tube will break off. On the Orca, on the other hand, this is all printed. We have a printed upper, printed lower, printed stock. There's no buffer tube in there, so what's going to happen? We don't really know. I'm going to give you my predictions, but first, I want you to go down into the comments below and tell me how you think the Orca is going to fail. Tell me where it's going to crack. Is the upper going to fail? Are the rear clips here going to fail? What's going to break on it? I want you to give me your thoughts. Think about it for a second. Don't be too spontaneous, but definitely get down there before you hear what I say and before you watch the rest of the video, because, hey, I don't know what's going to happen yet. Get down there and leave those comments. So looking at this guy right here, what I think is going to happen is the lower receiver is going to crack right here along the layer lines. And the reason I think that is because of the stresses at play here. The upper receiver is held onto the lower receiver via these lugs, and you should be able to see the outline of them right there. There's lugs on the lower which go into pockets on the upper, and the upper receiver is going to be applying a lot of upwards force on those lugs, and it's going to tend to pry the lugs and the layers upwards and off of the rest of the lower receiver. Now that hose clamp is clamping them all together. However, the hose clamp is pretty far back and it can't clamp the layers together all the way. So it's clamping the rear of those layers together back here, but the forward portion of those layers is not being clamped together. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to split right there. If that doesn't happen, my second guess is that the upper receiver itself is going to fail below those support ribs and pop off the lower. I don't think the clips are going to be the source of failure here, but I could be wrong. So those are my predictions, and we're going to find out what happens. So let's do it. And there's one more thing I want to add here to my prediction, and that is that the Orca is going to hold up to the basic push-up. It's not going to break, and it's going to require some bouncing and some kind of effort to actually break it. So I think it's going to maintain its integrity. When I put weight on it, when I do a push-up, it's going to flex a little, but it's going to be holding in, and I'm going to have to really push on it to get something to split. So that's my prediction. Pistol grip onto firm ground right there. We've got a shallow spot here, gives us plenty of rotation in both directions. We're going to try to balance it out. We do have a shorter grip stock here, so we're going to have to give the handguard a grip much closer compared to down here where it won't really balance very well. So we're going to try to balance it out as best we can. And let's get on top of him. There we go. So you can see, full weight, no failures. And 2, 3, 4, there's 5 push-ups. It's not breaking with normal push-ups. Now, let's give it some bounces. Oh, there we go. Oh, I was wrong. Okay, I was wrong, guys. That buffer tower is stronger than I thought it was. And what happened is one of the clips failed. Wait a second. Wait a second. Those are polycarbonate clips. Okay, just a second. We got to redo this with the right nylon clips. For those of you who don't know what just happened, I realized after breaking the clips on the Orca in the push-up test that those clips were actually polycarbonate clips. So for those of you who have not been following along, I'll give you guys a quick summary. When I first released the Orca, I was using a polycarbonate blend in the Orca clips, and that actually resulted in a lot of failures. What was happening is the polycarbonate was suffering from cracking under constant stress, or possibly under slightly varying stress and suffering from fatigue. At this point, I'm not exactly sure what was causing it. I call it constant stress cracking because I've observed it on the front pin plates of my AR lowers and some other places where polycarbonate develops small fractures which grow over time under what should be a constant stress, which is a problem I don't have with PLA or with or PLA Plus or with nylons and other stuff. So what I ended up doing is I moved the clips over to using a carbon fiber nylon. And those of you who don't know, the clips are just these little kind of dovetail sort of things that the hose clamps clamp together into pockets on the stock and the lower receiver that kind of hold everything together. I use the same clips to hold the handguard to the upper receiver. Anyway, the polycarbonate clips develop small fractures. This Orca right here, I thought I had swapped out the carbon fiber clips, but I remember when I was shooting with PSR, I had actually, before we started shooting, I had swapped all my clips out from polycarbonate to carbon fiber nylon, so we wouldn't have any failures due to the polycarbonate, but I ran out of carbon fiber nylon clips, and I didn't have enough to replace the clips on the buffer tower on this particular Orca. So only one of the clips was a nylon clip, and the clip next to it, the polycarbonate clip, is the one that failed. So we're going to redo this test now that I've installed the nylon clips as it should be, and we're going to see what happens. Orca push-up test, take 2. Go ahead, leave those comments down below. What's going to fail? If it is the clips, I'm actually curious to see them break because I've never broken the carbon fiber nylon clips. I've never had one fail, and if they do fail, I'm curious to see how they fail. So that should be interesting. They are under a lot of stress. All right, let's get braced. Make sure we're balanced. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Passes the standard push-ups. Now let's do some bouncing. Oh, that's pretty strong. Huh, not expected. Come on, let's break. I'm getting some separation. Huh, not expected. The clips we're flexing, but now the gap's closed back up. Everything functions normally. I actually couldn't break it. I think this calls for a harder surface. I'll get something to put the Orca on so that we're not deflecting it. It did sink into the dirt there quite a bit. And then we'll try again with a pad and see if we can get enough impact on it to actually break it. I'm honestly quite surprised I didn't break. That's significantly stronger than I thought it would be. Okay, we now have ourselves a firm piece of 2 by 8, 2 by 10 down there. I think it's 2 by 10. And we're going to repeat this test and see if we can get a failure to occur, especially now that we've been kind of cycling it a bit. So, come on. That's funny, it's not breaking. Can't believe this, guys. Unprecedented. Oh, there's a crack forming. Right where I said it would be forming. Come on. Let's see. Let's break. Well, there is a crack forming. You can maybe see it on the video when we push down. Let's get closer up and show you guys. Okay, so you're gonna be looking right in this area right here, and you'll see there's a crack which opens up when we push on it. There is a crack which opens up. And if you look at the buffer tower, you can see the buffer tower, there's a gap there, significant gap, where the PLA and the nylon is stretching. Looking at it, it looks like it's not the nylon clip, it's actually the PLA like deforming. I'm not even sure. But something is flexing there, and there's a gap opening up between the buffer tower on the lower and the stock. But when we let go, it closes right up again. It's just elastic deformation. That was not an expected result. So I attempted to break this Orca. I have done push-up tests with Orcas in the past during beta testing, but nothing aggressive like this. I just did normal push-ups just to try to make sure I didn't have any glaring issues. I never tried to break my prototypes intentionally, so I haven't actually done one of this level. I was not expecting this to happen. I thought we were definitely gonna have the buffer tower split. The buffer tower started cracking, and it didn't get any worse. It started cracking over here on the left side, didn't get any worse. So I can assume that hose clamp is doing its job, holding those layers together, and it is really keeping this thing together. So that's super cool. I am pleased with the results, even though they were unexpected, and I think that it's very good. It's a good result. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I will catch you guys again next time, and thank you so much for watching.